A soaking wet Donald Trump nuked himself last night in Atlanta, having a complete and total swollen and sweaty orange meltdown. Wow. 8 days yesterday before the election, and Trump is standing around to music looking swollen and sweaty as sycophants lose their minds.
To the hills of Tennessee.
Right.
Across the plains of Texas.
Now, you might notice that Trump's face is orange, but his ears and neck are a pale pink. That's his choice. And I'm fine with anyone using any makeup they want. They should do it. You know, we used to say, oh, J.D. Vance wears women's makeup. It's just makeup. Why is it only reserved for women? Let Trump do whatever he wants. The problem is that either the things that he puts on his face or the things that come out of his mouth are really diminishing the number of people going to these rallies. And in fact, the crowd size yesterday in Atlanta, a critical battleground state, pretty damn weak. Here is Trump speaking, and as you can see, a very light turnout, significant areas of just empty bleachers, rows of bleachers empty. And part of it is, of course, what Donald Trump is offering at these rallies. Donald Trump dismissed all of the Nazi stuff floating around him because he recreated a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden with an anecdote about his father. Unfortunately, I think this anecdote actually causes more problems for Trump.
Kamala is now doing something much worse than what she was talking about. The newest line from Kamala and her campaign is that everyone who isn't voting for her is a Nazi. We're Nazis.
Of course, that's not the claim.
You know, years ago, my father, I had a great father, he's a tough guy. He used to always say, never use the word Nazi, never use that word. Or you don't ever use the word Nazi. And, you know, it's incredible now. The way they talk is so disgusting and just horrible the way they...
You know, it's funny that Trump brings up his dad. Trump's dad was arrested at a KKK rally in the 1920s and was involved with the John Birch Society. And so when I think about under what circumstances might Fred Trump have been telling Donald Trump never use the word Nazi, I wonder if it's not because it's a bad thing to call others, but it's because of self-preservation concerns and not wanting the word attached to their own family. In any case, there's no way to know at this point in time. Donald Trump raised the claim that we have an occupied nation in the United States. The towns, the cities, the villages, it's all been invaded and conquered, almost like a Middle Ages sort of situation. It's news to people in Scarsdale, New York, right? But it's another attempt to get the crowd wound up with fear of the other.
Of our country, the United States is now an occupied country.
Is it?
But it will soon be an occupied country no longer.
Oh, boy.
November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. And on day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. We're going to get these criminals out.
So listen to the specific words that Trump is using. Invaded, conquered, occupied, liberation. These are military terms which Trump is using to prime the pump for violent action. Oh, his supporters are getting violent again at the polls or on January 6, 2025? Well, listen, we were conquered, we were occupied, we were invaded, and now we are simply patriotically trying to be liberated. This is how you manufacture consent, or at least indifference, to horrible anti-democratic authoritarian insanity. Trump, as usual, struggling with his memory, saying we're close to World War II, and someone in the crowd actually corrects him. This is interesting.
But we're close to World War II because we have people in the White House that World War III. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I had World War II. I had World War II. I had World War II veterans. I didn't realize the word veteran afterwards. Thank you.
There you go. So Trump confused by the teleprompter. I don't even know that I believe that explanation. He, of course, says he doesn't need the teleprompter, yet he uses it. And he's so sucked into it that he says completely false things. Fomenting the authoritarian fervor in the room, Trump says, you know, if he wanted to, he could have locked up Hillary.
They said, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. They screamed, I'd say, easy, easy, we won. We're going to have unity. I could have locked her up. But
really?
I didn't want to lock her up. She's the wife of the President of the United States previously, and she was Secretary of State. I said, that would be so terrible for our country. And then they try and do it to me.
One little difference there, something called evidence of crimes that separated Trump from Hillary, and then completely beyond parody, moments after reading things incorrectly off of the teleprompter, Donald Trump brags that he doesn't need a teleprompter. He is using a teleprompter while he says this.
And isn't it great to have a guy that doesn't need to look at a teleprompter at all, right? I don't need to.
Trump said this while flanked by teleprompters. Finally, as the rally started to reach its climax and denouement, Trump turned his ire to Michelle Obama, saying that she's getting nasty with him. Nasty. A term he mostly applies only to women.
With your support on November 5th, you know what's nasty to me? Michelle Obama.
Obama.
Ooh. I always tried to be so nice and respectful. Oh, she opened up a little bit of a box. She opened up a little bit of something. Oh, she was nasty.
Michelle Obama famously opening up a box, and then finally Donald Trump going from talking about Michelle Obama to talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and as is often the case, Trump confused, I guess, about how a hydrogen-powered vehicle would work. You all know anytime Trump touches science, it gets dicey quick.
You're not recognizable if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong and Marjorie Taylor Greene with that beautiful blonde hair is driving down the highway in a hydrogen car, and the problem with a hydrogen car, if something goes wrong, it's like the atom bomb went off. You're not recognizable. But they say, we think we have it under control. That's not good enough. They'll say, we thought it was Marjorie Taylor Greene riding down the middle of the turnpike, but she's no longer recognizable.
Yeah, so not a particularly exciting rally, but for the most part, people stayed in the room for the rally. Very different from what happened in Pennsylvania. You watch YouTube, you listen to podcasts, you've heard a ton of ads for VPNs, but all VPNs are pretty much the same, except for one. Our sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the only VPN that can confirm your internet activity is not being logged. Their software is fully open source, so you can see that traffic isn't being logged. Their systems are also independently audited by the Big Four accounting firm Deloitte to confirm nothing is being logged, and they've demonstrated multiple times in court they have no record of user activity. Everyone should use a VPN when they connect to the internet. Hides your IP address so governments and big tech can't track you, and you can access Netflix and Hulu content not normally available in your home country. Private Internet Access has servers in 91 different countries and all 50 US states. You can protect all of your devices with just a single account, and Private Internet Access is giving my audience 83% off. Comes out to just $203 a month plus 4 extra months for free. Go to piavpn.com/Pacman. The link is down below.